Hey there, and welcome to PhD Living. Have you seen how CBD is just everywhere these days? And not just in vape shops either. No, I'm talking grocery stores, pharmacies, gas stations, truck stops. And who wouldn't want to buy their miracle pain relief cream off a dude behind a counter at a place that has to hand out a key to the bathroom so people don't sleep, shoot up drugs, or do other things to each other in there? Time to separate the wheat from the chaff on this one. Or is it maybe the bud from the leaf? Let's talk first about cannabinoids. They're compounds that react in the cannabinoid receptors in the human body. Yeah, I know, using the word and the definition of the word. Sue me. While there are synthetic variants of cannabinoids, the majority of natural ones come from the cannabis plant, aka marijuana. There are at least 113 different cannabinoids in what we'd consider regular old ganja, and they live in a resinous oil on trichromes, basically just little hairs all over the plant. For the purpose of this discussion, though, we're just going to zero in on two cannabinoids, THC and CBD. THC, shown here, is delta-9-trans-tetrahydrocannabinol. This bad boy binds to a cannabinoid receptor in the brain to create anandamide and 2-arachidinoyl glycerol. And those two puppies are what make you high as a Georgia pine. Here's anandamide, also known as N-arachidinoyl ethanolamine. It's a simple amide of ethanolamine and arachidonic acid. You take your C double bond OH and your NH2 amine, you find H2O water, lasso it, pluck it out, tack the two ends together, and you get your anandamide amide group. At any rate, aside from putting you on the Cheech and Chong bus, anandamide is also important for the fetus blastocyst implanting in the uterus during early pregnancy. Bet you never heard that one, did ya? In fairness, too much anandamide can also produce a different pathway that stalls embryo plantation, so that, combined with other potential undesirable side effects in the finished product, the baby, leads to the recommendation that women trying to get pregnant shouldn't be smoking the reefer. Anandamide can also be found in chocolate, but don't think you're getting high off your candy bar. It's at like a 0.05 microgram per gram level, so found in is used kind of loosely and almost certainly has no correlation to why people like chocolate so much. The other compound that gets you high is 2-arachidinoyl glycerol, or 2-AG. It's basically anandamide's big brother. They both have this same arachidinoyl group, where in 2-AG we have a glycerol unit over here instead of the ethanolamine group from anandamide. The chemistry is almost identical, where in anandamide you had the ethanolamine group reacting with the carboxylic acid from arachidonic acid to create the amide linkage, where in 2-AG it's a glycerol alcohol group reacting with that same carboxylic from the arachidonic acid to make an ester functionality. This is why I'm not a huge fan of common names, because to say 2-arachidinoyl glycerol and anandamide makes you think that they could be completely different compounds, and that's misleading. But hey, that's why I'm here, so to quote Maui from Moana, you're welcome! Turns out 2-AG is the most abundant monoacylglycerol in rat brains, 50 nanomole per gram tissue. Yes, you needed to know that. Okay, now we know THC reacts in the cannabinoid receptors of the brain to create anandamide and 2-AG, and those are the compounds responsible for getting people high. Remind me again why we're talking about this? Because of CBD. So where's the CBD? Right. And finally, here we are. This is cannabidiol, or CBD. First things first here, CBD is not psychoactive. It has very low affinity for the cannabinoid receptors throughout the body, so it doesn't get you high. But here's CBD compared to THC. I'm just going to let this one breathe for a minute. Have you found it yet? Okay, fine. CBD and THC are isomers of each other. Exact same molecular formula, different molecular structure. But not that different. Really, all you'd need to do is cyclize this second ring here in CBD, and it becomes THC. And even I'm a good enough organic chemist to electron push that one. Not so fast, bud. Looks great on paper, but in reality it's more complicated than that. A number of websites you'll see online claim that a third grader in a beaker with some vinegar can make massive production quantity amounts of THC of high purity in about 5 minutes. But let's just take a look at one patent's process for the CBD to THC conversion. Step 1. boron trifluoride etherate is added to an ice-cold solution of CBD in dichloromethane under nitrogen atmosphere. And the problems start right here. Where one gets boron trifluoride etherate clandestinely is beyond me, and creating an oxygen-free environment at home is easier said than done. Then a saturated solution of sodium bicarbonate is added until the red color disappears. Well, that's just baking soda, so at least this step is pretty easy. At that point, the organic layer was decanted, washed with water, dried with mag sulfate, and evaporated, leaving an oily residue. Always the best thing to have in organic reactions. Read, usually extremely dirty. Containing 27% delta 8 THC and 66% delta 9 THC. Remember that double bond in the first ring up here in THC? The 8 and the 9 are just denoting what position that double bond is in. For what it's worth, we're looking exclusively for the delta 9 THC isomer. So we separate these two compounds from each other on a column using petroleum ether, giving us a final 57% delta 9 THC in 98.5% purity via HPLC. And that's how you make THC from CBD. I also found a website claiming you can do the conversion with dilute sulfuric acid in glacial acetic acid and also with anhydrous zinc 2 chloride at 150 degrees. Didn't say what unit, but I'm assuming to be C. So just make a really, really hot acid solution. Sounds safe to me! Most of these ingredients are, needless to say, pretty difficult for the home chemist to procure. At any rate, my conclusion is the CBD to THC conversion is either not mature enough to work at scale or not profitable enough to work at scale. Whichever it is, I don't think this is going to be a huge thing in the near future. Moving on. For everything CBD you see today, the key distinction in both general use and legality is the cannabis source. Cannabis sativa is almost always associated with marijuana, but it's been grown for millennia for a different purpose: hemp. Cannabis marijuana generally has a high THC content, after all that's the point, and a pretty middling CBD content. Whereas with the hemp cannabis, grown primarily for its industrial application like textiles or animal feed, has a very low THC content but a pretty decent CBD content. Which brings us to this. CBD derived from the marijuana cannabis strain is illegal in the United States. Marijuana and THC and CBD derived from marijuana are Schedule I controlled substances, meaning the DEA considers them to have a high potential for abuse, no accepted medical use, and no accepted safe practice. For what it's worth, a single prescription medication with CBD for the treatment of epilepsy was approved by the FDA in 2018, and synthetic THC is approved on Schedule III as an accepted prescription medication. That's right, same exact chemical except one synthetic and one is natural. If it's made in a lab, it's good to go, but if it comes from a plant, it's a big no-no. I'm not particularly on one side of the marijuana issue or the other, but I am always on the side of science. I think there's enough research out there to suggest marijuana is not very addictive. Certainly not as addictive as other Schedule I drugs like cocaine or heroin. On the other side of the coin, I also think there's enough research to suggest toking up every single day of your life is not very conducive to a productive existence. Anywho, hemp. The FDA's designated 3 hemp products, specifically dehulled hemp seed protein powder, and hemp seed oil, with less than 0.3% THC by dry weight as generally regarded as safe, or GRAS, in the United States. GRAS being perhaps the most ironic acronym we could have in a discussion about marijuana. This means these 3 hemp products can be used in foods and dietary supplements pretty much without restriction. And because they have some minor amount of CBD in them, if someone were to put, let's say, dehulled hemp seed in an energy drink, they could then say that energy drink has CBD in it. Which is technically correct, but that's also like saying your everything bagel has opium in it because there's 7 poppy seeds on it. To my knowledge, this is the only legal avenue that CBD has in order to get into foodstuffs or dietary supplements. That is, as a byproduct of a hemp product that is approved to go into the stuff. If you see pure CBD in a drink or a candy bar, even if the CBD was derived from the totally legal hemp plant, it is still considered illegal in the United States, even though it isn't a controlled substance, because the FDA has not ruled CBD GRAS yet. For legal high CBD extracts, it has to be in a non-edible form, which is why you see all those creams, rubs, and other fake therapies at your neighborhood gas station. There are still some weird legalities to resolve around CBD derived from hemp, and the FDA consistently warns companies that make outrageous claims about it, but that's the general gist I picked up on the subject in a few hours of reading on the internet. Far be it from little old me to judge things sold at every dumpy truck stop from here to Los Angeles, but this feels like a fad to me. While there's a whole pile of buzz about CBD, there's very little in the way of, you guessed it, Devin's favorite thing, peer-reviewed published literature that says CBD has positive effects on that lump you've been meaning to take to Dr. Pimple Popper for a few years now. If you want to dig deeper on this, the FDA has a phenomenal website dedicated to dispelling a lot of the myths about CBD and THC. I urge you to supplement this video by reading it because there's way too many good things of note on it, and me rehashing it here would be just reading the website verbatim. Quick grab bag here. You think THC is the supreme high? Ever heard of dimethylheptylpyran? Didn't think so. Okay, fine, congratulations. Yes, I see you out there. You knew what I was talking about beforehand. Please post it on your Twitter so everybody can see it and you'll get fake internet points. Can I get back to my thing now that your titanic ego has been sufficiently stroked? Dimethylheptylpyran, or DMHP, shown here, was used experimentally by the Army as a non-lethal incapacitating agent. It was really effective. Chemically, DMHP is pretty close to THC except for two minor differences. First, the double bond here is shifted over 2 carbons to this position, and the pentyl side chain on THC is now a dimethylheptyl side chain for DMHP, hence the whole dimethylheptyl thing. For a 75-kilo guy such as myself, an effective dose of DMHP would be about 225 micrograms. When a dose of 1 to 2 milligrams, that is 10 times that amount, was administered, the subjects were considered incapable of performing military duties for up to 3 days afterward. That's one hell of a drug. And no, I don't know how to make it or where to find it. You know, for that matter, are you a co-op? Don't lie to me. Are you a co-op? And there you have it, the not exactly world-shattering chemistry of CBD. Heck, the legalities are probably more complicated than the science on this one. See you next time. Pineapple Express. Yes. It's this thing, like El Nino, this airflow that comes from Hawaii and Canada, and it gets the dirt and it mixes it in with the weed in a very special way. It's actually very scientific. I won't go into it right now, but I am the only guy in the whole city that has it.